Greeting viewers. Joining us today is author Antonio Pagliarulo. Antonio's much anticipated book, The Evil Eye, The History, Mystery, and Magic of the Quiet Curse, will be released this year. Welcome, Antonio.
Thank you. It's a great pleasure to be here.
As a son of Italian immigrants, was it always an inspiration that you would write about the folk magic you grew up with and around, as you did with your latest book?
Yes, I think so, because I was always, writing was always my thing. I was always reading, I was always writing, and storytelling was also a lot of growing up in a home where my parents are from Italy and my grandparents lived downstairs. We had a house, a home like that, and growing up and knowing a lot of the stories, hearing a lot of the stories, seeing my grandmother, my grandfather doing certain things, whether it was my grandmother with oil and water and the detecting and the removal of malocchio or the evil eye, we all sort of understood that we were blessed to be in the tradition of magic and the magic of tradition, so to speak. And so yeah, to write about it was always something that I've wanted to do, and especially with the evil eye, because it's something that's so prominent and prevalent still. It's
Absolutely.
Just gotten more and more prevalent, actually.
In your own words, can you describe what the evil eye is?
What is the evil eye? Okay, so there's a simple answer, and then there's a not so simple answer. So the simple answer is that the evil eye is a negative force, a curse, that is transmitted through a glance or a look. That old saying, a single glance is all it takes, is very true about the evil eye. It's a negative force that is transmitted through a glance, and it is generally, not always, but it is generally transmitted, or it's born, I should say, of envy, of jealousy. This goes back to a lot, to the origins as far as it can go. It's an idea that someone's envy, whether it's intentional or unintentional, will create negative energy for you. So that's one way to describe the evil eye. Okay, sometimes it is unintentional. Sometimes many different cultures believe that someone will give you a compliment, and they can mean it very much, but perhaps they don't say God bless you afterwards, and they unintentionally sort of give you the evil eye. And then there's the other aspect of the evil eye. It's kind of a few layers. The other aspect of it is boasting, is very much something that sort of taunts the evil eye, or you're tempting fate in that way.
Oh, that's
and growing up, that was very much a thing. You always stayed very quiet, whether it was about a personal achievement, whether it was about your parent getting a new job, or as a kid you got the new toy on the street. You didn't go and display that immediately, because a kid could get jealous of you and give you the evil eye. So the eye very much is something that is ingrained in all of us, because what we have is that feeling of envy. And when you have that feeling of envy, which is very universal, everyone has experienced envy, everyone has experienced jealousy. I think everyone has experienced the feeling of envy against them, or the feeling of jealousy against them. So you can boast about yourself. You might bring the evil eye out on you because you're tempting fate. But when somebody holds feelings of resentment, envy, jealousy, greed, this is where the evil eye comes out. And you might get a compliment that's sugar-coated, okay? That's not really a compliment, okay? That can give you the evil eye. Or you might get someone who's absolutely going to come forward and be very, very frank with you about it, who's going to come with you and not give you a compliment. And so that kind of negativity or that kind of aggression is also going to give you the evil eye.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Can you tell us what to expect within the pages of your upcoming book, The Evil Eye, The History, Mystery, and Magic of the Quiet Curse?
Yes. So it does do all three, the history, mystery, magic, but more specifically, the book takes a look at the evil eye from sort of really more of a global lens, and it's not only about malocchio in the Italian sense. It looks at the eye from various perspectives, from where it is in various religions and religious traditions, where it is in cultural and ethnic traditions, and some of the history about it. The mystery of the evil eye is that you have this superstition, according to some people, that goes back so many thousands of years, and yet it has remained. It's survived, and it is there, it is here. It has, sort of this unbroken chain throughout history in many cultures. You can trace it back. What is the mystery of that? Right now, especially in the past couple of years, we have seen even more of a proliferation, especially, in popular culture. Jewelry, evil eye, what we call evil eye jewelry. And in fact, when many people are thinking about the blue and white, eye with the black dot there, and that's called an azar. People call it evil eye jewelry. But the mystery of this, why is it that there were so many superstitions? But at one point, certain superstitions to certain groups of people were very valid. The evil eye goes across cultures, history, time, and yet it has survived. What's the mystery of that? The book answers very much that mystery, because when you think about it, as I said earlier, what it is born from, the evil eye is born from envy. And it's born from emotion. And, as human beings, we all have emotions. We've all experienced envy. We've all been on the receiving end of someone else's envy. So that has never left. It's really a facet of the human condition to feel envious. Sometimes we don't like to admit it, but everybody gets envious or jealous sometimes. Mm-hmm. And yes, we've all been on the receiving end of that, So that emotion, that thought, has never ever left humanity in general. I mean, it's there all of the time. And so that is why I think this mystery of the evil eye, it has survived. I write about it in the book about religions. Many religions will tell you, Christianity, that will tell you you shouldn't believe in superstitions. You shouldn't give a lot of weight to these superstitions. But people, by far and large, really do give weight to these superstitions, because it's much more of a superstition. It's a belief. For me, at the heart of the book, though, is really the magic. It's learning through various methods the symptoms of the evil eye, the signs. There are differences between signs and symptoms. A symptom is something is there, a sign is something somebody else can even see. So what happens when you have that spate of bad luck that's just unexplained? You need to figure out why, and people do want to know why. And that's what the magic is all about. It's in many ways, it's about protection, it's about healing, and it's about doing both of those things for yourself and for your loved ones, and improving your life.
Heavy metal performer Ronnie James Dio was famous for throwing the horns. This was done in love towards his audience, but time and time again, he had to explain to the media what the gesture was. Why do you think the public thought this was devil worshipping?
So if I'm not mistaken, I think in an interview he gave, probably over a few interviews, I know I saw one where he explained that he grew up and his Italian grandmother used to, for malocchio, used to give the horns to sort of get it out of the place, or if she was suspecting that someone was giving the evil eye, he said somewhere she would walk him, maybe to bring his grandfather lunch, if I recall correctly, and basically she would have her hands and she would do this, and it's something that stayed with him, he said, and he understood, though, from what I read, that it was, certainly not something he created, that it had its roots in his grandmother, who was Italian-American, and he took it, I don't know specifically why he chose to do, what we call the mano cornuta. This is the horns here. But I think, he did it, to my knowledge, because it was a symbol that resonated with him. It brought him back to his childhood. It certainly probably made him feel safe. His grandmother probably said, "This is to ward away malocchio," and he took that. I think it's construed. It was, and it still is, I think, sometimes as sort of an evil, something demonic. The horns, for the same reasons, that it has been in other areas. it's that symbol. Back when we look at deities, like Pan, they have the horns, and the horn god of the woods, and pagan, all these deities, horns were not always historically looked at as evil symbols at all. But I think, especially with Christianity, we see that Christianity created this image of Satan and of the devil.
Why would someone want to cast the evil eye onto someone else?
You can protect yourself in many ways from casting the evil eye. To a lot of people, it's counterintuitive, but, and I talk about this in the book, the whole point of casting the evil eye is because if you feel threatened in a situation, okay, and you know how to use your emotion, because that's where you're going to get everything. Even when you do rituals and spells, we talk about the magical community, you can talk about magic in general. Your emotion, what you're going to put into it, has a lot to do with the spell. But what you're going to do when you're casting the evil eye, you're drawing on your emotion, and you may need to do that in a situation where you feel threatened, where you feel unsafe, where you feel like your family, your kids, someone you're with, it might feel unsafe. Once you learn how to do it, I explain a few methods in the book. Once you learn how to work with the energy, your own energy, it should never be taken lightly, and neither should casting the evil eye, but it is a form of protection for yourself. And sometimes you need to do that. Sometimes you don't have the means on you, to just, you could be at work, you could be in a parking lot, you could be walking outside, you could have a colleague, a friend, a coworker, anyone could be giving you a negative vibe, a bad vibe, to make you feel threatened. When you know how to cast that evil eye on it, it becomes a form of defense.
Antonio's book, The Evil Eye, is now available for pre-order at Red Wheel Weiser, and after May 1st, you can purchase a copy at all fine booksellers. We wish to thank you, the viewers, for tuning in. Until next time, thank you for watching Oculus Alchemy.